Calling Chicago is only a couple of days away, and while I'm really sad that I don't get to play in the event, I am excited that I get to watch the coverage from home and I get to see all the great games that'll be played this weekend. With that in mind, there are 6 heroes that I think are going to have a standout weekend in Chicago. Let's talk about them. The first hero on the list is not going to surprise anybody. It's Zen. I honestly believe that as broken as Zen is and the dumb things he can do, there'll be 2 copies of the hero in top 8. Now, this is the list that Dan won Battlehardened Columbus with. And looking at his list, it's very easy to see why the deck is so broken. The equipment suite's really cool. The one thing I was not expecting is the Arcanite Fortress. That's a pretty cool addition, but it does make sense. The Spell Void can be very relevant when you're trying to stop Kano or Icelander later in the game. And as you look at his list, the things that make Zen so incredibly broken in LL are the fact that you get to play Belittle. Belittle is so powerful, and it just enables your entire game plan because you can literally tutor up a blue Minnowism to turn on Transcend early on in the game and really just make your whole game plan start functioning. The other card that I really want to talk about is Artivore. Artivore has obviously been banned in CC pretty recently. I say recently in the last couple months, but Artivore is just an insanely good card. It's a powerhouse. It fuels the aggro plan. And when you pair Artivore with, let's never leave out Stubby Hammers. When you pair Artivore with Stubby Hammers, you get insanely broken turns. Cards like Tiger Swipe get both the value of Stubby Hammers and Artivore, and you can really make a lot of dumb things happen because if you're able to hit with the Tiger Swipe and extend your turn by 2 or 3 chain links, then you're just adding so much damage to the turn. I think Zen is really going to be a standout. The one thing that I will say is that there was no bonds of ancestry in Dan's deck, which I actually think was a pretty good line. I think it was like a good deck building decision when you look at it. The one thing that did stand out to me is he was on 2 copies of Salt the Wound, which is pretty cool. I like that because he has 2 copies of Salt the Wound and he has Mask of the Pouncing Lynx in the deck, which is like, I just think this is really neat because you probably don't want Traverse in every matchup, and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx can go a long way. Can also probably really help against Starvo. I don't know how he sideboards. I'm not sure what you're using this in, but it is really cool. And I think Zen has potential to put 2 copies in the top 8 of Chicago. Next up is Viserai. Now, I'm going to step out on a ledge here and say if you're watching this video that you've probably been hurt by Viserai at one point in time, or you've been the Viserai doing the hurting at one point in time. Whichever side of the table you're used to being on, Viserai does some crazy stuff, and I think it's very reasonable to think that there'll be 1 copy of Viserai in the top 8 of Chicago this weekend. You get a lot of really cool tools in LL that you don't have in CC, first up being Bloodsheath Skeleton. Bloodsheath Skeleton is absolutely insane. This is a great way to take tempo from a game or continue to make sure that you are putting your foot on the gas and that you have tempo throughout the rest of the game. The next card that I want to talk about and that's really interesting to me that I love seen play is Duskblade. Duskblade is absolutely insane, and like this was banned before it ever even hit the shelf in CC. So seeing this see play in CC is really cool. I think Duskblade gives you a pretty good chance into like Oldhim and to some more grindy stuff. You're having that like ability to grind the game out and play the longer game here. So Duskblade just looking very powerful and can really make a lot of things happen for you when you need that extra oomph at the end of the game. As we look at this list, it's funny because you're going to see some cards. You're actually going to see some cards from Rosetta in here. Malefic Incantation making its way into LL is awesome to see. I actually really love this. This is a very powerful card, and with Mordred Tide, it can go a really long way. Another card that we don't really see in CC, mostly because it's banned, is Plunder Run. Love Plunder Run. This card's great. Seeing this being played in Viserai is also really cool. You know, some decks really lean into the Belittle version of every kind of deck. And, you know, Christopher Ali made the decision to be on a more Plunder Run heavy list. And I think that's pretty sweet. You're also going to notice that he's on 9 copies of Rune Rager Swarm, which is really interesting to me. I love seeing all of the new cards getting some love in LL. It's a very fun thing to see. Viserai has some crazy good cards. It does some bonkers stuff, and I don't think there's any reason we couldn't see a copy of Viserai in the top 8 this weekend. This hero needs no introduction. Starvo has hurt so many people with the fastest speed run to Living Legend in the history of the game. This hero is absolutely insane. Now, looking at the equipment, we have obviously gotten some upgrades for Starvo since he left the format. First up being Lightning Greaves. Lightning Greaves giving access to AB1 instead of playing Null Rune Boots and the ability to block is absolutely crazy. And if you get into a really weird spot, you can activate it and play instants to do action point things. So it's something to keep in mind, although it doesn't come up too often. The other piece that we've gotten that's kind of an upgrade here is Civic Steps. Back in the day, we were all playing the Gauntlet that blocked one with Blade Break. Civic Steps gives us a better blocking option, and at this point in time, a lot of the high players have really learned, like the higher caliber players, I would say, have really learned how to use Civic Steps. And I do say that kind of as a shot at myself because I do make mistakes with Civic Steps, and it's funny to look back on. But Civic Steps is a big upgrade for our leg slot here and everything that we're looking at. There's also a ton of new tools here. So looking at all these, Fruits of the Forest is on our list. This is a Rosetta card that we just got, and the ability to be able to Earth Fuse with this and having the ability to discard it to gain 2 life is very powerful. Cut Through the Facade is also a new card from Rosetta, and I really like this card because when you Starvo Fuse with it, this is 9 Dominate going into the hammer, which is insane. Cut Through the Facade has really impressed me in this deck. It's also very good at being a popper if you need it to, so I really like Cut Through the Facade, and I think that this is going to find a good place in Starvo, probably for a more permanent future in Living Legend. Red Arctic Incarceration. Although this has been around since Uprising, this was not legal when Starvo was in. So seeing the red Arctic Incarceration is really good at slowing down those aggro decks and making sure that you're able to keep tempo and staying in a good position as Starvo. Electromagnetic Somersault. This is possibly my favorite card from Rosetta. Like, this card's insanely cool. Although admittedly I am playing reds in a lot of the decks I play. This card is awesome. You can actually block with like a Spinal Crush and like, a blue Fruits of the Forest, and then you can get them back into your hand with Electromagnetic Somersault. This card's insanely powerful and does a lot of really good things for the Starvo deck. There's a ton of upgrades that we've seen just over the last year or two. Current Funnel is also on this list. Current Funnel is just a great lightning 3-block that we can add to the deck. Now, it doesn't work very well with Somersault or anything else, or even Starvo's ability, but I do really like this card, and I think it fits well into the deck. Earthform is another good one that, we've added since then. This also came out. I think this is a Rosetta card as well, but, 3 for 5 at blue that makes an embodiment of Earth, can make your life easier to block with, is really good. Starvo continues to impress me in Battle-Hardened Columbus. There was only one Starvo in top 8, but there was a ton of Starvos in 9th through 16th. I think there was 3 or 4 of them. So seeing this deck do well in Chicago is not surprising to me at all. And honestly, I'm expecting to see 2 Starvos in the top 8 of the Calling. Next up is everybody's favorite Fatigue deck. And obviously when I say favorite, I mean you probably hate this deck. Oldhim was Oldhim was the first Fatigue hero to really have a special place in my heart. I do really enjoy Oldhim. I am admittedly not a fan of Count Your Blessings, but I do really like Oldhim and his hero ability and what he's trying to accomplish. Oldhim has gotten some really cool new tools as we've gotten more cards from each of the sets. First up being Well Grounded. This card is great because it gives us the ability to have AB against Kano, or a prevention effect, kind of almost like a Spell Void 2 into Kano, and honestly into some aggro matchups. I think Well Grounded is a great card, and it really fits into the Oldhim shell and just really adds to our game plan with what we're wanting to do. As we continue to look at the deck, Count Your Blessings is obviously on the deck. I think everybody immediately knew we were just going to jam 9 Count Your Blessings into the Oldhim deck. It works so well with Rampart and Crown of Seeds. You can actually just leave your resources floating and just play Count Your Blessings at the end of the turn. It just works. It just makes sense. It's such an easy, clean fit that it just makes this deck tough to kill because it's just able to block so well and gain so much life over the course of the game. We have also added a lot of disruption. Felling of the Crown and Plow Under, we're going to talk about here in a minute, are very good decompose cards that have added a lot of value to the Oldhim deck. And they're not only giving us we're not only adding defensive tools to Oldhim, but we're also adding these cards that attack them and disrupt them, slowing their hands down. If you've played a Fatigue deck before, you know that one of the keys to actually stopping your opponent from winning the game is through some disruption. It used to be Spinal Crushing Command and Conquer, but now we're looking at Felling of the Crown and Plow Under. These are very good disruption pieces that do allow us to really stunt our opponent's growth, slow them down, and try to get into a positive spot in the game. Now we're looking at a lot of the usual suspects in Oldhim. We're looking at Oasis Respite. We're looking at Rootbound Carapace. We're looking at Sync Below. We're looking at all these cards that they make sense. They fit into the deck. They block efficiently. That's what we want them for. Oakenold is a card that we didn't like. We really didn't play that much of during the Lexi meta because we were going for the fatigue plan. But I do like having the one of Oakenold as it is restricted in LL. It's a very good card. Another broken card that we didn't talk about with Starvo, what we're going to talk about now, is Awakening. Awakening is absolutely insane and can just go get a Pulverize out of the deck or whatever you need to get out of the deck, mostly Pulverize in this case. You can get a Oakenold and like make the whole fuse thing happen, and that is a really good play. But going to get Pulverize in this deck is very good, especially when like you're down on life. Although it could be in a situation where you're not really down on life, depending on how the Count Your Blessing situation game is going. Oldhim is a very strong deck, and I think we've done nothing but add good tools to the Oldhim deck. Also, picking up copies of Fruits of the Forest, it just makes sense. It's additional life gain. Oldhim's in a very good spot. One of his weakest matchups is probably going to be Illusionist, but I don't think there's a reason we wouldn't see one copy of Oldhim in the top 8 at Chicago. Our second to last hero we're going to talk about is everybody's favorite combo wizard. Kano does so many disgusting things, it feels like it should be illegal when you look at the deck. Now, I know that we are looking at an outdated version of Peter's deck from Battle Hardened Osaka, where he has 9 copies of Open the Floodgates in it, and you can only play 1 copy of Open the Floodgates, but Kano can still do some really dumb things, and we're going to talk about why I think we're going to see 1 copy of Kano in the top 8 of Chicago this weekend. Although you can only play 1 copy of Open the Floodgates in the deck, I still think that the card is very powerful, and having it as a 1-of can be really good. The other thing that you get in LL that you don't have in CC is Tome of Aetherwind. This card gives you the ability to either buff an attack, like buff a spell, or you have the ability to draw 2 cards. Now, most of the time, you're looking at drawing 2 cards, but this card does have some flexibility to help you in the game if you need it to. The other thing that we don't have in CC anymore is Tome of Fiendel. Tome of Fiendel is absolutely crazy. Having access to these cards that let us draw multiple cards and can really just keep chaining things together is absolutely bonkers. Them like restricting Open the Floodgates to a 1-of has been a really good thing, I think, for LL in general. Kano's a very powerful deck. He's always been doing really broken things. And the other thing they added is Will of Arcana. This coming out in Rosetta is actually really cool. I really like this gem. Like, this is a really cool fable in my opinion. I think Will of Arcana has really helped the deck. You can get into some unfortunate situations where you see it on top of the deck, and that always feels bad, but I think ultimately this is a net win for the deck and Kano as a whole. So, looking at all the things that we've added and having access to 6 more tomes that we don't have in CC, I really think you can expect to see a 1-of copy of Kano in the top 8 of Chicago. The last hero on our list, and definitely not least, Aurora. Now, I have to admit, I'm probably a little biased because I did top 8 of Battle Hardened playing Aurora, but Aurora can do a lot of really broken stuff, and it wouldn't surprise me to see a 1-of copy of Aurora in the top 8 at Calling Chicago, just because of all the dumb things she can do and the fact that you can just present so much damage, and your big combo turns can really play through the Count Your Blessings deck, that I think Aurora could have a really good run. So one of the first reasons that and this is the most obvious by far that I think Aurora has a good chance is you can play 9 copies of Ball Lightning. For anybody who never experienced this card in CC, just say thank God and go about your day. This card is absolutely crazy. It kind of breaks rules interactions and it makes it weird for Arcane Barrier. When you pair Ball Lightning with Arc Lightning, you're able to do tons of damage that your opponent with AB1 is not able to block. It's absolutely nuts. Ball Lightning is insane. It creates judge calls all the time. This card makes a lot of things happen and really puts Aurora on the map in LL. Now, as we look at the rest of the Aurora deck, a lot of this looks very similar to CC. You're seeing a lot of the same things. We're still playing Snatch. We're still playing Lightning Press. We're still playing Channel Lightning Valley. Channel Lightning Valley giving you the ability to draw is extremely powerful and also enables Aurora's game plan. Arc Lightning. This is the Aurora specialization. This is insane. Arc Lightning is broken, and when you pair it with Ball Lightning, you can do so many dumb things. One of the things that can make Aurora a little weird in CC is the fact that you have to pair Arc Lightning and Flicker Wisp. Still very powerful, but it's not as broken. With Ball Lightning in the deck, you're playing 9 copies of Flicker Wisp. that has a body attached to it. It's absolutely insane. So when you start playing things like Arc Lightning, the arcane damage gets out of hand. It's a ton of split damage. Your opponent probably can't block at all, and you're just going to push a ton and really make some good things happen. The other card that we don't really play in CC, and it's legal in CC, but we don't play it, is Sting of Sorcery. Sting of Sorcery is a great card. I have referred to this often as Arc Lightnings 4 through 6. Now, that's not exactly true, but I think that you do need Sting of Sorcery, and pitch stacking this into Oldhims and other like Count Your Blessings deck is a very, very good way to make sure that you have late game play, because you can play Sting of Sorcery and then play Ball Lightning and then throw like 2 other attacks, and you're really putting together a powerful turn with arcane damage that can't be blocked. So you're kind of having like pseudo copies of Arc Lightning 4 through 6, which is very good. Now I know again that I am a little biased, and I can't help it. You'll notice the grin on my face. I am biased because I love Aurora, but it would not surprise me at all to see 1 copy of Aurora in the top 8 of Calling Chicago. There you have it, guys. That's your top 8 for Calling Chicago. 2 Zins, 1 Viserai, 2 Starvos, 1 Oldhim, 1 Kano, and close to my heart, 1 Aurora. Now, we'll see how wrong I am. Obviously, these are all just predictions. If you guys think I got it wrong, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you think is going to be in the top 8 of the Calling, because it's going to be a good one this weekend. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.